You descend the metal ladder from the rooftop of the homestead that gave you the view, settlement of Somber, and the view of the bay, and the view of the hydrocarbon drilling rig out in the bay, dwarfing the surrounding area, and also the source of the pollution of the water. You all come back down the ladder, back inside with Dale Elkin, also known as Rix the Foreman. And he's going to take you and give you a small tour of Somber to help you orient, to help you understand what's out there, and to make sure that you know where you can go and what to be aware of. And as he's getting his own jacket and getting a few things ready, he turns and he looks to Vilrazah, your Tokchi friend and pilot and burgeoning force user. And he looks at her and he says, "Should we talk about this before we go out?" And he taps himself. He taps himself on his chest where the bandolier is, or on the hip, or on your belt. He taps his body where you keep the crystal on your body.
And
he's getting gear, he's getting ready. He's not really paying attention to you after he says that, but he makes a point of saying that it's something he wants to ask about.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about it, because what is it?
And he holds out his hand.
She, takes it in the little egg that it was like in, and hands it to him.
And he takes it, just rests it in his palm for a moment, and he looks at you. "And who gave you this?"
I found it under that fountain that I just happened to know about.
He closes his hand on it for a moment, and as he's looking at you, and then he closes his own eyes. When you're calm and at peace, there are times when you can hold something, and sometimes you can actually see who held it before you. And sometimes you can even see where they held it. And he does that for a moment, and then he opens his eyes and he opens the palm back up. And he says, and he offers it back to you. "Do you know what that's used for?"
Jewelry? Parts to no. The answer is no.
"How did I know that you had it on you?"
Because of the force?
It's connected to the living force.
Okay.
Like all of us are, like all of you are.
Yeah.
But there was so much noise around us and so much noise here in the cantina that I didn't even notice it until you and I just sat down here on the floor a few moments ago and had a calm moment. But just as I told you, we can feel others around us like this, something like that. If someone knows how to listen, they can feel that as well. And so it's one more beacon in the night that's sending out a signal. What if I told you to take it out to the tundra and bury it and forget that you ever found it?
I don't know if I could. I like having it around. It also kind of reminds me of home.
He pauses, and then as he's getting his gear and getting ready to go out and, taking off some gloves and getting some different things, and he looks over at Tanal for a moment. He says, "Do you know what that's used for?"
I don't know. Does she know what that's used for?
You need to decide what your father told you about Jedi Knights, keeping in mind that he certainly wasn't bringing it up as a regular course of conversation, but you've had more conversations about the Clone Wars than anyone else. And so you have to decide for Tanal What does Tanal remember? And it could just be stories. It could just be stories about battles and fantastic, moments and not a lot of detail. But you have to decide if Tanal knows what that crystal would be used for.
Yeah, I don't think that she would have remembered outside of this context. I think that all the other times that, she's looked at it when they initially discovered it, she wasn't really putting two and two together, but now sitting across from someone who she knows was a part of that history and was a part of the Jedi, something kind of clicks. Oh. Yeah.
He goes to his workbench and he gets a metal tray and he hands it to Vilra. And it's a small metal tray, just big enough to hold some parts. And then he goes over to his bench and he just starts like brushing stuff aside and he's digging through things and he finds something, looks at it, no, and he puts something down, picks them up, drops that on the tray, comes over, picks up another couple of pieces, looks over, goes over to a pouch hanging on the wall, opens up some parts and pieces, all of his minor small electronics work, picks up this, drops that on the tray, goes over to a closet, lifts up, pulls a box down, rummages through the box, picks up a couple things, picks up this, drops it on the tray, goes over to a shelf above the workbench, starts rummaging up amongst the shelf, grabbing at different things, finds something up there that he can't even see, pulls it up, looks at it, shakes his head at it, puts it back up there. And then he looks down and there's some boots down on the floor and he goes down, he picks up the boot and he brings you the boot. He's looking at you for a moment. And then he upends the boot and a part falls out of it and drops onto the tray. And he goes and he just tosses the boot back down. You are holding this tray, Vilra. You recognize a lot of these components. They're common components. You're not quite sure what they're all doing together. That's a power cell. And that's energizers for cycling energy. This looks like it's a focusing lens. That's a flux aperture, but it's like a really high energy one. This looks to be like a magnetic clamp, so you can attach this onto something else. And then there's like a housing cylinder that just seems to be long and narrow, but it's got a little retractable slide on it. And when you slide it open, you can see there is a bracket inside that looks very much like the bracket in the egg cup. Except this housing cylinder has 3 brackets.
How's your fencing, Vilra?
I think we both know the answer to that is bad. What does that have to do with the mishmash?
Put it together. And he goes and he sits on his stool and he starts adjusting one of his boots and getting ready to go out. He's not really paying you much mind. He says, put it together.
Okay. What am I putting together? I'll figure it out, I guess. Mind is already like, you can see the wheels turning of like, this can go here, this goes there, like, grabbing a tool already, like.
You don't have the repair skill for this device, Vilra, so I'm going to make you roll your technical. This is going to be no technicals for repair, technicals for taking things apart and putting them back together. This, Vilra, is going to be a very difficult technical roll, which means the difficulty number starts at 21.
I can tell you now that I can't get that unless I explode.
So make sure your wild die is one of the dice that you have in there.
I'm using my yellowy gold colored die as my wild die. Oh, so total it's a 4 and my wild die is a 1.
Okay. It doesn't make sense. You think that you should know how to put this together because all these components look like they could fit together and you understand how to take apart basic pieces, but it's always slightly out of alignment. The threadings don't line up. There's a piece that it's not the aperture is not quite the right size to slide in. It makes no sense whatsoever, and you're getting frustrated.
How about we just go on that tour and I'll deal with your stupid parts later.
He takes the tray back from you. He says, make sure you put that away, gesturing to what's in your hand. And he takes the pieces, separates them, drops one back up on top of the closet, drops one up on the tool bench, drops another, and then looks around the room for the third one for a second, and then he literally just tosses it over his shoulder, and that lands with a clatter in the corner somewhere.
You know, organization is really important.
Organization also gives you away.
Okay, yeah, but like I know where all my tools are because I keep them organized on my belt and on my, my thing.
Sometimes
like if you're gonna hide it in the boot, always hide, put it back in the boot where it belongs. Don't just like chuck it. It's also how things get damaged. Oh my God, I sound like my dad.
You
Sorry.
know your way around a tool bench.
Yeah.
You know that sometimes you can't just build it, that sometimes you have to have a connection to it as well, to understand it, to know it, just like you have a connection to what you're holding in that pouch. He gets ready to go to the door, and then he pauses, and he looks back to everybody. The drilling is polluting the bay. The pollution in the bay is poisoning the seafood, and it's making the locals sick. It means there wasn't enough locals to continue work on the rig, and so after a period of time, they had to start bringing in off-world contractors, bringing in roughnecks. And then he goes for a second, and he starts to unbuckle, and he goes back to his bench where he has his blaster pistol with the holster, and he says, "So it means that new faces aren't uncommon, but it also means that no one's going to notice if you go missing." And he tosses to Tanal his blaster pistol with the holster. And then as he's talking to you all, still like talking and walking, not really looking at anybody, goes back up to the closet, grabs another box off the top, brings it down, rummages it around again, and he pulls out a holdout blaster, smaller than the blaster pistol, more compact, with a tiny snug holster. It could go on the back of your belt or in a boot. And he hands that to Vilra. So I need you to be careful.
Okay.
And I need you to watch your back out there. And thank you to everyone watching with us in here as we welcome you to Quadrilateral Frostfall, a Star Wars the role-playing game, actual play. Welcome to Dungeon Scrawlers, your home for adventures told by some of your favorite authors and storytellers. And before we introduce everybody, I've got two great sponsors to tell you about. Both make dice, and both are awesome in very different ways. In a realm where most warriors use plastic, light weapons, Norse Foundry specializes in metal dice. When you roll them, it feels like you are skillfully smashing the rigid armor of the monster horde. Norse Foundry offers other cool gaming accessories as well, and you can find their store and more about them at norsefoundry.com. Phoenix Dice is named for the creature that rises from the ashes because they use all recycled materials for their dice. They are always designing and testing multiple types of recycled materials for your enjoyment, raising dice from the ashes and onwards to epic adventures. You can find their dice and accessories at phoenixdice.com. We welcome everyone to Quadrilateral Frostfall, a Star Wars actual play using the Star Wars the Role-Playing Game 2nd Edition, revised and expanded as originally published by West End Games. I am your Game Master, Jason Collins. I'm an actual play streamer, freelance tabletop role-playing game designer, and freelance comic book writer, and you can find my work and links to the first chapter of Quadrilateral on my Linktree at digital_Collins, and of course you can find Quadrilateral on the Dungeon Scrawlers Twitch and YouTube channels.
Hi, everybody. My name is Barnaby. I go by _Barnaby all over the internet. I am a digital artist as well as a TTRPG actual player. I'm always glad to be in the space. You can find me again at _Barnaby everywhere across the internet.
Hey everyone, my name is Mara. You can find me at College of Lore Dropout or just Lore Dropout. You can also find me over on Starlight Tales, which is a queer and trans-led actual play. We do D&D, Starfinder, and a whole bunch of other things, all set in space.
Hi, I'm Diana. You can find me most places on the internet at Sapphic Dragonona, or also over on Starlight Tales, or you can find some of my writing in the upcoming baking adventure tabletop game Story Bake.
Hi everyone, my name is May. You can find me over on the internet somewhere at Maybe Mayhem. You can also find me over on my podcast, Socially Plagued, where my friend Mary Kate and I talk about stuff that bugs us.
How do we find ourselves here? After crash landing on the planet of Fest, and after infiltrating the Imperial patrolled fishing settlement of Somber, you made two important discoveries. The first, that Vilra and several of your family members back home are wanted for questioning by the Empire. And you also discovered a Jedi in hiding. Master Dale Elikin, known to the locals as Rix, the rig foreman. You learned that he was hiding here with his Padawan learner Munich before Unizaw, Iktochi, and Vilra's mother came to Somber looking for any Jedi in hiding, warning of an imminent Imperial arrival because of Master Elikin's attempts to sabotage the Empire's operations. Dale took you to his homestead, he played a game of shared secrets with you, and he revealed to Vilrazah the nature of the living force and the source of her growing and what he claims is dangerous power. He takes you outside, the cold air grips you again as you step out. He made sure that everyone who didn't have warm jackets has them. He's got a collection. He's got jackets that fit himself, and he's got jackets that fit a slightly smaller body as well, perhaps a second person that once lived in the homestead with him. And so everybody that needs a warm jacket has it. Everybody that maybe needs an upgrade of their footwear, boots or something, you have that as well. Tanal, you're keeping the blaster pistol?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Vilra, you're keeping the hold-up blaster?
Might sound silly. Is it small enough to fit in 2 Pints' tummy?
Yes.
Yeah, I got cargo netting in there, so I'll take that out, leave it behind, and I can keep it in there for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna place it into 2 Pints' tummy as just safekeeping for anyone to use.
Yummy,
Absolutely.
yummy.
Dale takes you outside. He waits by the door, gestures for Barnaby and Vilra and 2 Pint and so forth. And presumably, as Tanal steps outside, she waits, wanting to keep an eye on everybody and come from the back. Dale waits, wanting to come up from the back, keep an eye on everybody. And so he just kind of closes his door and gives you a knowing look, and then he just walks alongside you as you guys exit out. Barnaby, please describe your character and their name as you are walking through the snowy streets of the fishing settlement of Somber.
Yeah, so Gila is about 5'2", is dressed in a bundle of clothes that don't all 100% fit, very small, sort of with big eyes, has some blonde has blonde locks that are kind of pulled back at the moment with like a headband, um, and is just sort of looking around, it's a little confused about how things got this bad, where they are, and kind of looking to see like what it is that we're going to do.
Vilra, or May, please describe Vilra as you're walking through the streets.
Sure. Vilra is about 5'6", medium build. She's Niktochi, so her skin is sort of terracotta reddish clay tan color with horns that come down, sort of soft features for her species, kind of goldish brown eyes. Similar. She's in her jumpsuit, her boots, big jacket, and also probably still the poncho, or something with a hood and the scarf wrapped around her at least lower face. For now, kind of just taking in everything and just sort of overloaded. Very much a little overstimulated, a little too, like, so much is happening that it's just, she's kind of got this like, sure, yeah, I will go where you tell me to right now because I'm a little bit lost.
Mara, describe our droid friend, Two Pint.
Two Pint is a little droid who's hovering in the air right now. Got kind of a cone-shaped head, circular body, two little arms, and two now very empty, dented paint canisters on his back that he usually uses for spray painting and covering up said spray painting. And he's also got, I feel like in the last little bit, he's got some paint kind of splashed on him and some scratches, and he's not looking new and polished by any means.
Diana, tell us about Tanal.
Yeah, Tanal is human, about 5'9", pretty like lean muscle of someone who's been working on a homestead her entire life. She's got this like choppy blonde hair that she has pretty grown out, but on the left side is shaved in an undercut that she 100% gave to herself. And you can tell. I think that she, over top of her kind of like green and earth tone farmer's garb, now she's got kind of like an oversized coat in the realm of like a sci-fi duster. She's got now this blaster attached to the belt at her hip. And is kind of just walking along with her arms crossed, head kind of on a swivel as she's like looking over the heads of all of her friends to just sort of scan the surroundings as they walk.
Dale Elkin's an older human, scruffy hair, sort of a rough, patchy beard. He shed his completely grease and work-stained overalls from before, put on a different pair of boots, put on just a proper winter jacket with just some underclothes. He does have a small utility belt with a few tools dangling from it, but nothing too heavy or obvious. No other obvious weapons now that he's handed his blaster pistol over to Tanal. And his face is a little tired, a little wrinkled, but there's absolutely just a bit of a flare of just alertness and intent with his eyes, and he certainly seems to be taking it all in as you guys start to walk. He takes you through the streets of Somber. There's only a light wind blowing, the sun is up, it's burned off the morning fog, streets are alive with a bit of activity. There's a few droids that come by, people making about their day. And he sort of follows a small group heading down towards the bay. He's heading you down towards the docks, and he's describing some of the landmarks as you go. You see to your right, to the north, as you're walking, in the distance, the looming shadow of the destroyed communications array that you could see from the rooftop the night before. The old two-story building, all of it sort of at the edge, slightly separated from the rest of the settlement, and in the distance you can see fenced off with security fencing, well back from the much closer to the settlement. But he leads you down towards the bay. You can hear the lapping of the water on the shore. You can hear the bustle of the docks, and then you can see that in addition to the fishing docks, and there's fishing speeders with their propulsion lift engines and hauling cranes and netting and all of that on the the decks of the ships, there is also another fenced-off dock area. And he points it out, and he points to it, and he says, that's the loading dock for the rig. That's where the roughnecks and the contract workers load up every morning and every night, and they bring them out across the bay, across the water. They don't use any shuttles, and everybody has to pass through screening to get through. The Empire doesn't care about small arms in the settlement. Nothing bigger than a blaster pistol. Anything bigger, and they're going to confiscate it, and maybe find out why you're carrying it in the first place. But once you pass through screening, no weapons can go. And you don't even see snowtroopers there. You just see Imperial uniforms, operations personnel, an Imperial security detail, like one or two men, again, with their own blaster pistols, but not even wearing snowtrooper armor. Just blast vests and a helmet, and just keeping. And as you look out in the water, you can see there's already a vessel that has departed, and it's carrying a large group of people on it, riding across the waves, bouncing on its repulsor drive, but still catching a bit of the swells as the spray comes up, and heading out to the massive, partially obscured, still with a little bit of the remnants of the fog, but most of it visible, of the massive Imperial hydrocarbon rig that looms up above the much smaller original Republic science platform that preceded it. After showing you the docks, explaining the routines, showing you how it works, he takes you back up to some of the main streets and starts walking you through just some of the common areas, some of the markets, and some of the established streets that you've already seen before, pointing out certain landmarks, pointing out different buildings and businesses and the names of a few individuals that he knows. And as you're walking now towards the south, it sort of curves around, following the general shape of the bay, the shore of the bay, and you can see Vilra in the distance, starting to get closer, the sort of shrouded round walls of the landing bays in the distance that are more to the north, sort of the northeast of the town, near the back. But you could see them even better from the rooftop of Dale's homestead. Dale's walking with Tanal, but he's talking with all of you. You can hear them all. But Barnaby and Vilra, as you're walking up front, you notice that there are already some fishmongers that have set up for the morning, presumably with their night catch that they've come in. And you can see an Imperial officer with a datapad standing at one of the tables, and he's got an Imperial snowtrooper in escort with him. And it appears the fishmonger's a bit animated, but the bustle of the street, the talking, Dale's not paying it much mind. He's describing things as you're going. You would have to step closer if you want to hear what the fishmonger's saying to the officer.
Responsibility as a journalist, of course, I have to get in there.
Yeah, and I can't let Gila step over there by herself. I gotta go with them.
Gila and Vilra peel off a little bit. Not so far away. You can still see everybody. The street's not that busy that you can't keep track where everybody is. But as you get closer, you can see the fishmonger, and he slaps the fish down on the table. The fish are there. It's fish. They look a little off. They look a little discolored. They don't have the sheen on their scales. And if you get close enough so you can clearly hear the conversation, but then also see, you can see that some of the fish eyes are like a milky white. So the fish is blind. It's all bad. All of it. It's all bad. You can't eat this. We can't eat this. Nobody can eat this. And the Imperial's just making notes on his datapad. He's just walking down the table, not even really acknowledging the voice of the fishmonger. And he says, if this catch isn't suitable, then we won't take it for requisition. But you don't get it. That nobody can have this. It's all poison. It's all been ruined. And the Imperial doesn't even look up. He just continues to key on his datapad, and the snowtrooper standing at attention. The snowtrooper has a blaster rifle in hand, just at attention waiting. It's not my problem. Sell it on the off-world market when the next freighter comes through. Sell it on the off-world market. Who am I going to sell it to? It's all bad. Nobody's going to be able to eat this. You want me just to send poison fish out? I'm here for the requisition. If you have product that we can buy, we will buy it. If you don't, then I will move on to the next merchant. The fishmonger just gets exasperated. Hit his wife. He's a taller, broad-shouldered man, dark skin. He's a bit animated, and you can see presumably his spouse. She comes over and kind of puts a hand on his chest and just kind of drags him back a little bit away from the table. And the officer pays no mind, and Lily just walks to the next table of the fishmonger and starts a conversation and starts taking inventory of what that fishmonger has, presumably because the Imperial officer is doing a little morning shopping for the garrison to see what supplies they have. And so the fishmonger's table is empty, and now that you're close enough, Barnaby, you can see that the fish don't look good at all. Nobody's stopping to talk to this monger about his fish. Nobody's stopping to do. There's a few people that walk by and look, but they keep on looking.
How does this happen, sir?
And he looks at you. They poison the water. The fish are in the water. The fish get poisoned. The fish eat other fish that are poisoned. And then I catch poisoned fish. This has been happening for years. No one cares. Every season it gets worse. People care. Who cares? Nobody cares. Do you see he doesn't care. He would let me sell poisoned fish off-world.
My mother used to say the first step in a change happening or anything getting better, someone has to complain.
I complain all the time. More people getting sick. The water's sick. The air is sick. Everyone's sick and tired. No one listens. No one cares.
Hey, and goes and touches his hand. I'm listening.
And he pauses and calms at that, and his spouse, she gives you a very warm smile, just as if to say thank you in silence. And all he says quietly is, "There's no one to help."
Somebody will help.
And he just
hope.
She holds up a hand to you, and she goes to the back, and she comes out, and she has got a wrapped, probably some wrapped seafood that she comes out to you, and she hands it to you, and she says, "This is clean. This is good."
Now it's real quietly.
And the monger just kind of steps away, and he just kind of goes and he's got all of his deboning and carving tools out and flaying knives and everything. He's got his work. He's got the apron on and everything, right? And he's just kind of organizing and cleaning everything because he's basically dressed all the fish, but he knows he's not going to be able to sell anything. And she just looks at you for a moment and hands you the wrapped seafood, and she just says, "So everyone does their best, and he's not entirely right. We help each other. We do what we can, but the water's getting worse, and soon there'll be nothing left to fish. Right now, most of the surface fishing is gone, and there's a few of the bottom shellfish fishing that can still be done, but that's about it."
What would need to happen for this to stop?
She smiles. She says, "They have to stop poisoning the water. They have to stop drilling, but that's not going to happen. The hydrocarbon's worth more than the seafood ever will be, and the rig jobs pay better than selling the seafood ever will."
All worthless people don't buy into it. None of it happens without you.
We do what we can. We support each other's families. And sometimes there's meetings and they talk about protests and things, but the last time they did a major protest, there was a lot of arrests, and some people didn't come home again, and so there's a lot of reluctance to do that again.
Just keep your head up. It'll get better.
She smiles. She says, "You too, child."
And offers a hand to shake. Healy Car, nice to meet you.
Dasa. Very nice to meet you as well.
Don't want to take up any more of your time, but thank you.
Anytime. Healy, anytime. Thank you. And then as Vilra and Gila just maybe continued their walk past the other fishmongers, you can see the lieutenant's already made his way down the row and is continuing with the snow trooper and escort. And then Dale and Tanal, and Two Pint, of course, coming along as well, but Dale and Tanal kind of bringing up the rear. And as all of that conversation was happening, Tanal, there was another conversation happening. As Dale was walking alongside you and then paused as they paused and was keeping an eye on them and then continues to follow them with you as you go. And he even says good morning and acknowledges a few people as you walk by, people that know Rick's the foreman, and then they say good morning. You do seem to know a lot about the war. That's not the usual dinner time conversation for someone your age.
Yeah, well, didn't exactly have a usual upbringing.
So what
dad.
do you? Your
My-
father.
Stepdad, technically, but he raised me. He fought until they decided they didn't need people like him anymore.
So did he serve in the Navy? Was he a crewman on one of the Republic freighters?
Nah. 501st.
And Dale stops walking for a second. Just for a moment, you catch him off guard. And then he kind of looks around for a moment, and then he composes himself and continues to walk. I didn't know that families were part of their training.
They're not. Something he had to find afterwards for himself.
And he told you about the war.
Sometimes it was not something that he liked remembering, but it's also not something that you can entirely just leave behind.
And did he tell you about who he served with?
A bit, just they were, one of you.
And do you know what happened to us?
Yeah. I've saw the recording, the order.
And did he tell you that he participated in that?
He didn't like to talk about it much. I don't think that he ever... He didn't... I mean, they all did, but it wasn't any of their fault. It wasn't... None of them were in control.
That'd be a difficult burden to carry.
Yeah.
Munich and I were on a diplomatic errand. There was no official transportation for us. We had to catch a civilian space liner. We were away from the front lines in Republic space. So we didn't have an escort, a squad, anyone with us. We didn't know what had happened until we got aboard Quen's space station. Saw the reports as they were coming in. Reports of treason, treachery, accusations of crimes. I realized right away the danger. And so we boarded the first freighter we could. And it turned out it was a smelly fish tug bound for Fest.
Yeah.
There were some reports, but Somber is not the biggest settlement. But what we found out, it was clear that they were hunting us everywhere. So we settled in for a little while. There didn't appear to be a military presence here. We tried to contact the Jedi, but every channel we tried, every channel we'd used was static.
Yeah.
A few days turned into a few weeks, and then a few months, and suddenly it was a year later, and without knowing a safer place to go, without being able to trust, to know who to trust, we stayed. But then the Empire arrived anyway. Not for us. They followed diligent and accurately filed science reports from the Republic platform on the discovery of species, aquaculture opportunities, basic notes about the populace, and the existence of hydrocarbon. Hydrocarbon that was needed for a vast and quickly growing navy.
Yeah.
They commandeered the science platform and they used it as their staging ground for the construction of the rig. He's continuing to walk through the streets. Vilra and Gila are ahead, continuing their walk as well, and Two Pints just floating around, zipping back and forth, doing what Two Pint does and investigating every technological curiosity that they find along the way, and stopping to chat with a couple droids in passing as they go. First, they actually were persuasive rather than punitive. They'd bribe the locals, get them to come work. But once injuries started happening, so too did the protests. And when the protests happened, so too did the arrests. And when persuasion wouldn't work, they'd default to their best, which is conscription, intimidation, and appealing to pure greed. Munich and I
That's how it
thought
goes.
Munich and I thought we could slow them down. We'd join work crews, sabotage some equipment, but every time we did, the backlash was disproportionate to the damage that we had done. The more we acted, the worse the punishment they would inflict on the entire settlement, even fishing crews that had nothing to do with the drilling project. And it was clear their intent. They wanted the locals to turn us in, to identify who it was, and to turn us in. So
Why
we
did you
had a plan.
stay?
Well, it was dangerous to know where to go. We had no knowledge of which systems were secure and which weren't. But we could see what was happening. We could see the end result if we allowed them to continue. And the war was over, but for us, the conflict was still continuing. And some of it was personal. It shouldn't have been, but it was.
What do you mean shouldn't have been? It's the best reason.
He doesn't respond to that for the moment. Continues to walk with you through the streets. We had a plan. We were going to blow the platform. We figured the best chance is right before they finished their construction. Still exposed enough to get to the heart of the drill, but committed enough credits that if they lost it, maybe they just wouldn't bother to try again and would go somewhere less volatile. And so we had our plan. And right before we put it into action, a ship arrived. A freighter carrying an Itochi woman who came warning of Imperials hunting down lost Jedi. You say it's the best reason, but I knew I was consumed with revenge. Revenge for the locals, revenge for the loss of the Republic, revenge for my brothers and sisters. If I continued down that path, that revenge was going to get Munich killed. And so I had to make a choice. And my choice was, I sent him off-world with Yuna. Sent him to live and to grow with the Force. But I stayed. I guess I was stuck in the Jedi code of old. Trust in the Force. Use it for knowledge and defense, but never for attack. That's what the Jedi were before the war. That's what the Jedi aspired to be before the war. But Yuna was right. The Empire came, and for one last time, a Jedi Knight was seen on the streets of Somber, holding off Imperials long enough for a freighter to get loaded and to take off. The Empire took exception to that sudden departure, and they shot down a TIE fighter, and he looks over his shoulder at the communications array. Took out the fighter and the communications array when they escaped. I thought that would be the end of it. Dale Elkin disappeared, presumably escaped on a freighter, and Rix one day started working a shift. But I realized that Yuna's warning wasn't about the Empire's forces, because there was one more visitor that came after they escaped, after everything else. Close, very, very close. But they came alone, and they came in the dark. And Rix's disguise couldn't hide from that one. He smiles and actually laughs. He couldn't hide me from Vilra in a fish-stained cantina at the edge of the galaxy. Your father told you some things about the war. You know some things about what happened to us. You know that they're continuing to hunt us even now, though there's far fewer of us left, I imagine. Do you know what they do to those of us that they don't kill?
Nothing good.
He pauses in the street. Vilra and Gila stop. They're looking at a merchant, selling wares and jewelry and trinkets and so forth, and then, all made from natural materials in the settlement. And he's talking to you, but he's looking at Vilra as he speaks. The hunted become the hunters. They become twisted, filled with pain and rage. They corrupt their minds, and then they set them loose in the galaxy to find the few of us that remain. And then he finally turns to look at you directly now as you've been having this conversation. Just stop to the middle street. People have to adjust and go around you, but he's looking directly at your face now. That's why I'm afraid for Vilra. She's been walking around with a blindfold on her entire life, and she can only see the ground in front of her. And I guess it's kept her safe. But that blindfold is slipping, and it can't ever be tied back on again once it goes. I need you to understand something. I need you to understand that this is why you have to protect her long enough until she can protect herself. Do you understand that?
I understand.
But you can't let your pain and your rage twist you too. You need to find your balance. You need to find your purpose. I need you to find your hope, Tanal.
Uh-huh. Okay, listen, I I understand that, you know, you've been at this a lot longer than me, and you've seen things and done things that I can't even begin to wrap my head around. I'll give you that one, you know, and maybe we were a bit quick to judge the role that you've taken on for yourself in this place, you know. Can't say I would have done any different in your shoes. But you don't know a damn thing about my rage and my pain. You have yours, I'm sure, but I've got mine. And it's still pretty fresh. And right now, it's what's keeping me alive. So if you want me to keep her alive, you just gotta let me do what I gotta do.
He just takes a breath. And he looks at your face. There's no judgment in his face, but very perceptive gaze. He just studies you. And he nods and he looks back over his shoulder. And he looks back as he sees Vilra and Gila and 2 Pint kind of hovering along between, having made it further along. And Vilra, you see a building that comes into view as you've kind of rounded the next part of the bend. And you see a parts depot. You see a repair and mechanics bay. Bit of neon signage outside in Orbish. Parts and pieces.
Yeah, I think for a moment it's like, oh, it's like home. And then saying that out loud or even mumbling it. And then just slowly retracting into herself again because home is gone. Her repair bay, gone. Her dad, who knows. Rolwara, once again, who knows. And that everything she knew is just gone. This is a different repair bay. It's not her repair bay. It's not the same. And it's painful.
The door opens. Somebody exits, having coming out of the depot in the morning. You can see briefly inside shelves and stacks and all the familiar things. Do you want to go inside and look, or do you want to just continue walking?
I guess it wouldn't hurt to get an idea of what's in there. Kind of looks at Gila like, I mean, curiosity's good, right?
2 Pint kind of hovers right in between their two heads and is like, I would also really like to get my paint canisters fixed.
I would like that for you too. And also work out, maybe get some of these dents and dings out.
That would be good.
You might see things that are upsetting.
You know, it's been a long time since I saw some, droid parts. We've seen a lot since then. It's probably fine.
Yeah, I just don't want to be responsible for the second time you're scarred.
It's like a faraway look in the little droid eyes, like, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, let's, should we let them kind of waves over at Tanal and Rix and is like,
Vilra waves, a little bit of a levity and a little bit of a smile on her face as she's standing outside the depot. And Dale has been focused in Utanol, so you've been able to see them, and he hasn't seen what they've been doing for the last few moments. And he kind of just looks over his shoulder as you have that exchange between the two of you, which he just lets lie where it is. But he looks over his shoulder for a second, and he gets immediately a grave look on his face, and he just bolts from you, and he runs right over to Vilra.
Follow immediately.
As you take a step towards the bay, Vilra, Rix the foreman comes up and just kind of grabs you by the shoulders and just kind of puts a motioning hand to Gila, and he motions you past the doorway to the depot, steps off to the side, looks over his shoulder for the moment.
what gives? It's just a depot. It's just parts.
Listen to me. You stay the hell away from there. The owner is an Imperial loyalist, and his brother is a sadistic bastard. You don't go in there. If you need a tool or a part, you let me know and I'll see what I can find. but you stay out of there. Do you understand me?
Okay.
And he
Yes.
kind of looks over his shoulder, and then he immediately seems intent that he wants to get a little bit further away from the depot and starts guiding everybody back down the street. And then his demeanor seems to relax again, but for a moment he just like it turned, and it was very authoritative because he was so serious about what he was talking about.
Okay. Oh, we should also figure out what happened to. Oh, I've already forgotten his name. Burn victim?
Sledge.
Sledge. I was about to say Scourge, and I was like, that's not right.
The infirmary is just down. You're coming up to it really quick because you're already at the sort of the south end of town where you found the infirmary before, so it's going to be one of your next stops. So you can absolutely stop in.
Yeah.
And do you say that out loud?
Yeah, I would say that out loud and be like, we probably should at least get him on the right page.
Who's Sledge?
So there was this guy. We brought him from home. He's kind of a miserable bastard, but like everything was exploding and we couldn't just leave him there. He got injured in the crash and we dropped him at the infirmary.
We
Yeah.
did put him under a fake name, so there might be some people here who are going to be really surprised when someone else's medical bills appear on their credit. Just a heads up.
Dale
about
got
that.
concerned for a moment, as like you could see in his face. It shifted not from the stern warning, but more of a there's another one of you, and he's not with you right now, and so that kind of concerned face. But then he looks to 2 Pint and he says, "Clever droid. We should
I
definitely."
am, yes.
He says, "Grease is a friend of mine. We should check in on him."
Yeah, he's not the best guy, but in like I almost got shot by one of his dudes when I was a kid.
Yeah.
He looks at Vilra, then he looks over to Tanal, and then he looks back to Vilra again, and then he just gives a little shrug, and it sort of seems to fit with what he knows so far, and he just continues walking to the infirmary. Everybody roll your perception, please, as you make your way past the depot that you have been hastily escorted away from and towards the infirmary. Remember that your wild die is one of the dice you roll, and it can explode on a 6, and it can add a complication on a 1.
I got a complication.
I exploded.
Maybe they can cancel out.
Well, don't worry. I also got a complication.
Oh,
A total
Oh.
of 9.
My total is 10.
I'm gonna
Got a
change my
19.
wild die.
Okay.
Oh, Gila perceptive as hell.
The complication in this case isn't quite so dire, but it means that you don't notice that not everyone's with you as you advance down the street with Dale. Dale's focused on the infirmary, and he's probably keeping an eye out to see who's around and so forth as he's walking with new faces. And Vilra and Tanal are doing that as well. Tanal keeps staying close because of the exchange that they've had. But Gila notices as you've walked a short way past that 2 Pint isn't with you. And you look over your shoulder, and that's because 2 Pint has stopped in the lane and is staring at a door that has opened to a small building. Not big enough to be a homestead or a shop, but maybe some kind of a storage or a shed of some kind. And somebody walks out carrying some equipment and a belt and some tools. 2 Pint is looking not at you, is not drifting, is looking inside the shed. 2 Pint doesn't float inside the shed like they would when they're just hovering. 2 Pint drifts, almost as if pulled inside the shed. And Gila, you're the one that sees this.
Oh no. I'm gonna try to grab them. I don't know how big 2 Pint is, if they're grabbable, but I'm definitely gonna, I guess, like, try to pull my weight back.
You have to run back, so you can't grab 2 Pint before 2 Pint enters, but you get there. The others are farther down the lane and they haven't seen. But they will in a moment when they look over their shoulder and realize that Gila's not there as well. They just don't hear Gila's voice anymore. You're not separated by a great distance. It's not like there's a big crowd. You're not lost in the crowd by any means. You've just fallen behind because 2 Pint has drifted inside the shed. And as Gila gets there and skitters to a stop to ensure that Two Pint is all right, Two Pint is hovering in a horseshoe-shaped chamber. There are shelves going all the way up. Two Pint's busy activator arms, always moving, always clicking, always touching things, looking at things, so forth. They hang limply at Two Pint's sides as Two Pint swivels around, looks back at Gila, and Two Pint is surrounded by these horseshoe-shaped shelves, and every shelf is filled with a different style and shade and color of industrial grade paint.
We were in trouble. Okay.
It's heaven.
Like, if a droid could hum, that's what Two Pints doing right now. Just looking at all these shelves, like do.
The rest of you realize that something's happened. Gila's standing in the doorway of this small shed, looking inside. Two Pints nowhere to be seen, but you can quickly come back to collect your crew. And this is what you see. And Dale comes over with a confused look on his face, not understanding. He's like, "What are you doing in the shed? Let's go."
Oh,
There's so many colors.
Yeah.
I want
You
them
could
all.
beautify so much.
So many.
Says this is the community shed look. If you're gonna do some renovating, come do it at night. And he's like gesturing everybody just to kind of not linger too long in one place.
Grab a
can come
couple.
back.
We'll come back later.
we'll come back. Start making a
But it-
list.
Oh. Oh, okay. I feel like you're definitely gonna have to Two Pints just gonna hold out an arm to be dragged away. They can't do it on their own.
Absolutely. You drag your reluctant droid companion away from the shed, but you know where it is. You know where to find it. It's well stocked. You make your way down to the infirmary. Is everybody going to go inside the infirmary? Is anybody going to wait outside the infirmary?
I think Tanal's definitely going in, being the one who talked to Grace kind of the most.
Okay.
I think I'll stand outside and keep watch.
Two
Very-
Pint will go in case they need to do more with the credits.
Sure.
I think, yeah, Vilra will stay with Gila.
Sure.
I think seeing that the two of them are staying outside, I think that Tanal will kind of go over to Gila and just very subtly press the blaster into their hand, just in case.
What do I do with this?
You just point and shoot.
Not a
Or
camera.
or actually,
No.
if you feel like you need to, then probably yell for me first. But then usually just pointing it at somebody makes them go away. So
Okay. All right. I'll just.
Okay.
It's away.
okay. Oh, then we'll go inside.
Gila and Vilra stay outside. Gila's now got the blaster pistol. Tanal, Two Pint go inside with Dale. Go in. He and Grease greet each other. Silver, the 2-1B medical droid, is back behind the counter. It's a quiet morning again. There's no one else in the infirmary waiting. But when Grease takes you to the back, there is another patient in one of the other beds. There's only 2 or 3 beds back there that she ever has room for. Sledge is still laying in his bed. Sledge is still unconscious, but she reports to you that Sledge is stable. He's slowly improving. They've been able to, administer as much help as they can. He's still going to be in a lot of pain when he wakes up, but it's been going okay. And the contractor card has covered for what they've been doing for the moment. And the other patient's sleeping, and so Dale just looks at the other patient for a moment, and then he just leans in quietly and just kind of talks with Grease as Tanal's there. And Grease says to him, "Oh, I see you've met our new arrivals," and Dale just kind of, nods to her and says that they're not here for a job, but they're making me work. And she kind of nods and gives him a smile at that. She looks at Tanal and she says, "You're in good hands. Sledge is in good hands, but so are you."
Did we give did we give Sledge a fake name when we brought him in? I'm trying
I guess,
for the
yeah,
life of
she
me
wouldn't
trying
call
to
him
remember.
Sledge. She would call him whatever name you gave.
Okay.
Sorry, because you're
No,
right.
that's
You wouldn't
I
have
was
said
just
Sledge.
like, wait.
She would just say he
Okay.
or your friend
Yeah,
is
okay,
in good
okay.
hands.
Cool.
Absolutely. But yeah, she wouldn't know his name because you probably wouldn't have
Okay.
given his name.
Okay. I was like, how did she know that?
No, that's fair. She asks you if you're okay and if you or your friends need anything still.
No, we're good actually. Thank you. The help and the medicine that you gave my friend it's working. So
And then she turns to Dale and she says, "Are you okay and do you need anything?" And he says, "Just the same old aches. Nothing that you can help with." And then they talk about the locals. They talk about a couple of local, events that are happening, and they kind of do a quick touch point with each other and catch up on a few things. Tunal, you do see some med packs on shelves in the storage closet nearby, and Silver, the 2-1B, is still back up the front counter and might be engaging with 2-Pint if they are having a conversation as well. Is there anything you want to ask 2-1B? Or ask Silver 2-Pint while you're there?
I think 2-Pint is gonna be like, right, I've seen some droids around, but are there a lot? Is there anything I should know about being a droid in this town?
Are you maintenance for the hydrocarbon rig?
No. Unless it needs a coat of paint or some rust remover.
Mm.
But
corrosion is a continual maintenance task at the rig. So yes, and it will be very cold and very wet, and so you will risk your own corrosion on any of your unprotected components.
Got any I don't know, extra like petroleum jelly or something that's gonna help with that, or
He says yes, supplies can be acquired at the parts depot, which is just down this road. They have sufficient supply that you can equip yourself.
Right. And I know people got to go through all the rigmarole of going through the checkpoints. Droids can just kind of go around that, right? We don't need to get checked over. We're just droids. What are we gonna do?
Silver kind of turns and kind of like the head kind of just adjusts slightly as it kind of is processing that. Was that a statement or a question? And so Silver's trying to figure out which it was. Droid maintenance is scheduled. Droid inspections are not routine.
All right. Good to know. Right. Oh, the droids that go out and do the maintaining, do they look like me at all? And gonna kind of like put his arms out and do a slow spin, like showing off a cool new outfit kind of vibe.
Silver watches you for a moment, and then Silver takes their arms and puts them out like this, and kind of looks at their own arm and turns it over and looks at their own arm. Yes. Two functioning apertures, repulsor lifts for ease of navigation on elevated platforms, maintenance, some rolled astromech units as well, and some administrative units, bipedal administrative units also, yes.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for your help. How are you doing? Are you good? How's droid life here?
I am running at 96% efficiency.
Is that your
Patient
normal?
quota is fine.
Right? Good.
Ice buildup remains a concern.
Sure. Yeah. Right. Well, you're doing great work. You know, I don't know anything about being a medical droid because I am not one, but you seem like you're doing a good job. Kind of does like finger guns.
And so you see the hand come up, and then just the hand goes back down again.
So close. Almost got it. Nice job. Right. Go back to my friends like, oh gosh, I need to remember how to talk to droids. It's been so long. Oh god.
Silver goes back to the terminal. Continues what they're doing. Dale and Grease finish up. You confirm that Sledge is in stable condition, still unconscious for the moment, but it's only been a day, barely. She says that now that she knows that you're connected with Dale, if she doesn't see you, she will send message to Dale if there's a change. And she says, don't worry about his contractor card. She'll make sure it's looked after. Tanal, how's your med pack supply?
Oh, it's so low, and I'm looking at those other ones so respectfully. I think she'll just kind of like nod a chin up to the supply and say, "Hey, is it cool if I grab one of those just in case?"
Of course.
Sorry, we've seen a lot of injuries.
Yeah, she goes over and she seems to be checking them to make sure that they're in fact all intact, and then she hands you one that appears to be full, and you can add a med pack to your gear. Absolutely.
Nice. I never took it out, so that's perfect.
There you go. And then Dale says, we'll get out of your hair. And he goes to leave unless there's anything else you need to ask or do. Otherwise, he held back outside, back out, Gila and Villa, right where you left them. The street's been walking by, the morning routine, right? Sun's fully risen now, and the street's bustling. And yeah, it's a larger settlement than West Craig, and so it's busier, and there's just a lot more faces, but a lot of people that are just focused on what they're to do. You're just two more faces in the crowd, scarf or not. No one pays you a whole lot of mind, and nobody comes to the infirmary while you're there, so there's no other interruption. Head back out. Dale continues down to the end of the street, but he kind of pauses because as it gets further, some of the buildings get smaller, it gets a little bit more open, and then it's heading to the sort of the simple gate and fence of the open air permacrete landing pad, security tower. You can see some troopers up in the tower and two snow troopers standing at the gate. And he talks about this is the landing pad, of course. This is where the civilian freighters land. The civilian freighters bring in the roughnecks or anybody who's starting a crew. They have to go through the checkpoint at the dock, check in with the administration building, and then once they're approved, they get to go down to the dock for each of the shifts. And then there's just local hotels and rooms available for rent. There's just not enough of the locals who are still capable and numerous enough to do the work that needs to be done. And so now they've been bringing in civilian contractors, and they've been doing that for a number of years now as the pollution's gotten worse. But the freighters, they also bring trade. They bring some off-road goods, and they occasionally bring a few visitors that aren't here for the work. And as he's talking to you all, you can hear the sound of an engine as a ship on approach comes in over the water. It is being escorted by two Imperial TIE fighters who fly in neat formation, keeping flank with it. It's not an Imperial ship that comes in. It doesn't look to be a shuttle. It looks to just be another freighter as it banks around and then settles over the pad and then slowly descends. The landing gear come down, and it settles down on the pad. The TIE fighters roar overhead loudly, do their quick pass to make sure that the landing goes securely and there's nothing out of order, and then they roar off across the bay, skimming across the water, shooting up sprays they go, before they then ramp up and scale up into the sky again, taking off. No one on the street pays it much mind. A few people look over, but it's part of the routine, and they just seem to be used to it by now. But Dale watches, and he's, he looks and he says, so here comes some crew. Those are probably some local traders, and he's watching. There's a whole bunch of passengers coming off. There's an Imperial officer at the pad talking to somebody who's descended it, probably the ship captain or the ship's officer. As passengers start to offload, they walk away from the ramp, and then there's a second security checkpoint with some Imperial snowtroopers who are just kind of inspecting goods, inspecting pieces. Some people are armed with small personal blasters. They're not required to hand those over. Other people don't appear to have a weapon on them. So they're doing that piece. Everybody roll your perception one more time for me as you're watching these various passengers disembark, and as you see the activity as Dale's describing the different characters that you would see.
So 7.
5.
I also got a 7, but with a complication.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
I can't catch a break. Oh.
And 2 point?
5.
Okay. There's a lot of activity. Most of you are just kind of watching the crowd, listening to Dale as he explains. Gila, you see an older man. He's got his own tool belt. He's just on the wall. He's got an access panel open on one of the walls of the building. He's doing some maintenance work. But he seems to be paying a bit of attention to Vilra. Just kind of focusing on her longer than he would other faces in the crowd as he's doing his work. But you can't stay focused on him because you notice the other part at the same time that Dale notices the other part. And Tanal and 2 Pint and so forth, and Vilra haven't realized this. You see 1, then 2, then 3 individuals come down the ramp. They're dressed differently than the rest. You can see visible armor on their body. You can see an obvious rifle over the shoulder and some other gear. One's wearing like a blast helmet. One's just bareheaded, doesn't have anything on. Another one just has a goggles and a comm unit. Dale kind of takes a little step in front of the rest of you, and that's in front of Vilra. And you see the 3 approach. Armor, blaster rifle. Is that one carrying a sword on its back? And the 3 of them approach the Imperial snowtroopers. And they put up their hands, and they start talking, and they pointing to things. And you can see that the lead individual hands over something small, which the trooper holds in their hand, and it's too far away to make out details, but you can see the small light blue of a hologram that pops up. And there seems to be a discussion point going on. And so Dale makes sure that he gets Tanal's attention so that she sees this now. And of course, Vilra will eventually clue in as well. Gila, you can look over your shoulder. You can still see the old man is just kind of looking at Vilra curiously for a moment. And then the 3 individuals, the device, the little holographic projector gets handed back to the individuals from the snowtroopers, and the snowtroopers step aside, and the 3 individuals walk through. They're not wearing Imperial uniforms. There's no obvious insignia on there. Their outfits don't match, but they're geared up, heavier than all the other civilians that are coming off the freighter. And Dale,
I think I will.
go ahead, Sheila.
I'll tap Vilra and kind of, with my eyes, point to the guy up at the top. You got a fan?
Oh, probably not in a good way.
if you look at the older man, he's doing his maintenance work on the wall. He gives you a smile when you actually make eye contact with him. He doesn't come over right away. He's still just doing his work, but he's looking at you with as if like there's some kind of recognition or some kind of point of interest that he's focused on.
Yeah, Vilra is all scarfed up, so she can't smile back, but she does give the little like.
Yeah. And then Dale looks to you, Tanal. What do you think?
Bad news. Sheila, you hand me the blaster?
Gladly.
Cool, thanks. Kind of holster it again.
He watches that, and then he just kind of like, just at his side, he kind of puts his hand up just low and just as if to, just to go easy. The freighters bring in the contractors. Contractors get jobs as roughnecks, work on the rig, earn some credits. Maybe they stay for a month, maybe they stay for a season, and maybe they stay on and they decide to like the work. But Somber's the kind of place. Somber is the kind of place where people also come to lay low. And sometimes they have to do that because they've got trouble waiting for them out in the galaxy. And sometimes that trouble comes and finds them. And when a bounty hunter is licensed by the Empire, they may be permitted to carry their armament into a restricted zone.
Mm-hmm.
And he just looks between you while he says, "Are they here for you?"
They might be.
I am a little bit wanted.
We all are.
And he looks at you and he says, "Yeah, we all are. But that doesn't mean that they're here for you."
Could be a lot of people in this town.
He makes sure that you're kind of off to the side, near some of the stalls, part of the crowd, just so you can watch the 3 bounty hunters exit the controlled area of the landing pad, past the snowtroopers guarding at the gate. They just walk with the rest of the crowd. They're not in a hurry. They don't appear to be terribly focused on any one person, and they're just kind of walking through the crowd. Armor, blasters, swords, gear. And then they just kind of continue on down the lane, wherever they're headed. He says it might be good just to check in with the administration building and just see if there's been any updated bounties for this system.
Right.
If you don't see your name, then they're not here for you.
Okay.
If you get me to a port, I could check sooner.
He nods and he checks his chrono on his wrist. He says, "Look, I have to work night shift. I need to go and find something to eat and find a little bit of sleep if I can get it. Are you going to be all right?"
We'll be fine.
Yeah.
We have each other.
Once I leave the dock, I won't have my own vehicle back. I'd have to commandeer something to come back. So just don't get into trouble before I do, okay?
Wouldn't dream of it.
And he looks
Yeah.
at Vilra and he says, "But remember, sometimes when you think about something, you can share what you're thinking with others, but only if your mind is clear, okay?"
I don't think I understand, but okay. I share what I'm thinking a lot. I don't think my mind has been clear ever since we left. And maybe even before then.
It's very difficult to do, but in time, it will start to make more sense. Just
Okay.
just don't just try not try not be a beacon in the night, okay?
Okay. I was gonna go reorganize your tools.
Probably not a good idea.
Not those tools, not the tray tools, but like a lot of mess.
And he just kind of looks at the sky and I hear your voice, but it's Munich's words. He nods to you all, gets a quick bite to eat from one of the stalls nearby, and he starts heading back in the direction of his homestead.
All right, so we're breaking into that comm tower, right?
Oh yeah, definitively.
Okay,
Absolutely.
absolutely cool. Just wanted to check. All right.
Well, I mean, maybe we should play kind of cool since we got, I don't know.
No, we're gonna break
Okay.
in.
Yeah, we're gonna break in.
We're gonna break it.
Can we also get me paint, please?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Of
yeah, and then
course.
backup paint as well. So,
So many. There's
Mhm.
so many colors in there.
mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of white walls around here.
Yeah, there
There's
are.
Blank.
And as you discuss breaking into paint sheds before breaking into secure offline comm stations, we're going to break into our break for the show. We'll see you soon. Dale has walked off to salvage what's left of his day, to get some rest before he has to go and do another night shift as one of the foremen on the hydrocarbon rig. And so he's left you in the streets of Somber, left you with more knowledge than you once had, left you with some warnings, and left you in the proximity of what appears to be 3 bounty hunters that have just arrived on Somber and just strolled their way down the lane after passing through the Imperial checkpoint with all of their weapons still in their possession. But you have the day. You can seek out whatever you like. He warned you out of the depot, the parts depot, but you have the surplus store. There's other merchants, other vendors, if there's any other bit of gear. And Dale would have given to you, before he departed, a little small gift, and he would have given you a small handful of credits. He would ask you, do you have any credits? Would have said no, and he would have given you some out of his pocket. Wasn't a lot, probably a couple hundred credits that he had available to him. That was a mix of just different credit denominations that he had in his pocket, and he would have pulled it out of a couple different places and put it all together, and then kind of did a rough count, and then would have pressed it into your hand and said, okay, as you need. And of course, his homestead is there. You know where to find it if you need to get back.
Do we have like a key to his house? Like, how do we get in?
Doesn't appear that it's that kind of settlement, that at least, whether it's because no one's going to go rob Rick's the foreman and everyone knows who he is by now. He didn't give you a security key, and he didn't give you a passcode to enter, so you expect you can get back in without too much difficulty.
Well,
Is there-
we
Go ahead.
get to a port, I can see if any bounties on our stall have been updated.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's
I'll
a
have to
smart
cover it.
move.
There's
Yeah.
plenty of access ports. Gila, you notice, and Vilra now, you know as well, that the old man just watches you go. He doesn't call out, he doesn't say anything, he doesn't try and impede you in any way. He goes back to his work, but he does make note of the fact that you walk away after he noted something about Vilra was familiar to him. It's not hard to find another terminal. They're all over the place in any of the storefronts and any of the buildings. Some along some of the light standards that just line the main road, and you can plug in, and there's a screen with a terminal built into the wall.
Perfect.
Go ahead and roll your computer programming repair 2 pint. Make sure you add your wild die into that roll, and before you roll, tell me what you're looking for specifically. You can look for information on bounties. Are you looking just on the local network for the moment to see if there's any bounties here in Fest? Or are you looking broader than that?
I found last time Gila's bounty on the Imperial network, right? Or where did I find that bounty?
You did on the Imperial network. You just didn't get into the secure part of the network to see
Right.
any further details about that. But yes, you were able to slice not only the local network but the Imperial network, and you got the update on Salashay. That's right.
Okay, I think I would try and do the same thing again. First look on the local network, see if we're good, and then try and splice into the Imperial to see what the...
Roll your computer programming repair for me.
Exploded! Ooh, I rolled so good. Okay. 12 plus 6, 18 plus 3 is 21, and then I roll 2 more, not including my explode, to get 6. So 21, 22, 28. Now I'll roll my exploding die, which is a 5. So 28 plus 5 for a 33. That's how math works?
That's correct.
33! Yay!
You've got access to the local network. It's like just skimming the finest layer, the thinnest layer of paint. It's just effortless, where you just go in. Yes, there are some local bounties made by the local prefecture and the local authorities here on Fest, not in just in Somber specifically, but in other settlements, other cities on the planet. There's not a huge amount of settlements, but there are some. So you're able to sift through those. Vilra's name is not included in any of those. Dale's name is not included in any of those. You're able to then transition to the Imperial network, get into the broader public part of the network for the Empire, and you're able to sift through, and then you quickly can find those same alerts that you found before, including the one for Vilra. For the moment, it hasn't extended off of Salashay, so it's still localized to that system. The friends and family that you noted before in various stages of either being reported as missing or being reported as wanted for questioning, all still listed for the Salashay network as well. The network system here, Two Pine, is old. It's outdated. It's not terribly secure because it doesn't need to be, because there's not a lot of sensitive information on here. But it means they haven't put enough of the protocols in to prevent you from getting closer and closer to the secure portion of the Imperial network. Someone's left an access point open. If you want to access the secure network with that roll that you just made, you just found a back door if you want to open it.
I do want to open it.
This is now the secure part of the network that only people with the right code cylinder could access, and typically that would be reserved for the ranking Imperial officers and above. Right now, you're in the Imperial network, of the secure part of the network. You haven't gone anywhere with it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you want to look for while you're in here. You can search by system. You can search by individual. You don't know if those search terms will be logged anywhere, but you can be as broad or as narrow as you want.
Mm-hmm. I think the first thing Two Pine is going to do then is look up anything they can find that has to do with the rig, blueprints, shift changes, guard movements, all of that. Just getting that as soon as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. You find the technical data that mirrors the timeline that Dale explained to Tanal. Their arrival, you find the original Republic Science Corps discovery reports of hydrocarbons, where they did test drilling, not for the purposes of extraction, just to test the bed of the bay, to see what was there and to see what other materials could be found. You find the arrival points, you find the redirection of Imperial resources to the planet, and you find then the schematics where they ordered up and then built this massive 5-story rig that just dwarfs the platform. You've got the schematics and the blueprints. You've got the layout of the rig. You can download that if you wish. The administration of the shifts and the contractors and the roughnecks, it's not terribly secure. Yes, you can pull that up. It's a mix of either 8 to 10 hour shifts and then 12-hour rotations, so night crews and day crews. You can see names and places of individuals where they've been slotted in. You can see the rough arrival times of the boats when they're coming in. You can see the next scheduled arrival for hydrocarbon pickup by the Imperial Navy. And it's just coming in a couple days.
Perfect. Amazing.
And while you're in there with that roll 2 pint, there is a security alert of a starship that was found in the tundra, crashed. And it appears it has been located, and there's now a search for any survivors. And they flagged it as a high-risk discovery. But they don't describe the ship, which is unusual. They don't talk about what kind of ship it is.
Okay.
but they flagged it as high risk and a priority for the scout teams to be on the lookout.
Got it. Is there any... There's no notice of like how many people they're looking for, anything like that? Just be on the lookout?
Not yet.
Okay. Okay. I think, okay, we have names, times, layout of the rig. I think then the other thing I'm gonna look for before I dive out really quick is, what's up with this guy at the supply depot? Why is he so scary? See if there's any info on there, anything about him or the brother, that I can find.
Also, we should figure out why the bounty hunters are there.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
There are some local bounties on Fest. So there are some active bounties at the moment, and the last known sighting of the bounty is on Fest.
Okay.
So it stands to reason that could be why they've come. But Dale also warned you that other people come hide, and so depends if they've also tracked anybody here. That may not be on the active list yet, but they might know.
Right.
The depot is registered to a man by the name of Complex. And there's one employee listed, and that man's name is Cutter. And there is a note. Any security concerns for the depot to be brought to Captain Harn.
Okay. Got it. Okay, there's other stuff I feel like I want to look at, but also I don't want to be here too long. So I think Two Pint is gonna log off.
Sure.
And right, so I got a whole bunch of information on the rig. I know who works there, what time they work there. There's, something happening in a few days that we can go through and just kind of like go through everything there. We should also probably walk and talk. Should be standing right by the port in case, I don't know, they saw me. No bounties are changed or different from what I saw last time, so Vilra, you're still on the hook, but the rest of you, your faces aren't known that I can tell. There are some bounties active, on the planet, so it's probably why the bounty hunters are here, but if they see it, they probably, they're not gonna be like, oh, not mine, and also the thing about, I got some info about the depot. If anything goes on, there's a specific captain they've got to report to, and I got the names of the person who owns it and the person who works there. And I don't know, I didn't want to get anything else because I don't know if they were tracking me or anything. I just want to risk it. But if we have more questions, I can always note them down and try and get them more later. But that's what I got.
That's a really great start, Two Pint. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, so for now, seems like we're okay. Cover's not blown. We have a bit of time to relax before we figure out what's next.
Great.
Okay. So crime or maybe breakfast?
We can do breakfast first, and then
Let's do breakfast
and then
first.
think about the crime. Yeah.
Okay.
That's... Okay.
I've heard you can't do crime as well on an empty stomach.
It's
That's
true.
Yeah.
So we're going back to the tavern.
I guess. I don't know.
Have to. This nice lady gave me this fish. I don't know if you're supposed to just eat it like this or if we're supposed to heat it up, but
There are vendors
Oh.
cooking seafood on open grills on the street market as well. So you could also take it there as an alternative if you don't want to go to the cantina.
Yeah.
I don't think maybe having our faces there again so soon would be the
Yeah.
best.
Let's hold off.
I
Straight
do
food.
want to talk to the droid in there at some point, but I think it's best not to be seen in there again so soon after the incident.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be too weird. Whatever. I feel like I'm thinking too hard about this. But yeah, let's go. There's lots of local folk. We can get something to eat.
There's no shortage of food choices. A lot of it, of course, is seafood oriented. You're able to still find some choices that appear to not have been tainted. Nobody appears to be purposefully trying to sell poisoned fish or seafood, though some of it's been a little more overcooked than others, depending on probably the condition of the seafood. You can spend the day in town, in the market, doing a little exploring, assuming if you are going to attempt to access the comm station during the day or at night.
So we know that it is both, that it's guarded like day and night, correct? That is there more security?
You know that it's fenced off, and you don't know much about what security they have. There's snow troopers on patrol, but it doesn't appear that there's any activity. There's not a guard station or a tower over there like there is at the landing pad. It's just they just fenced off. They fenced it off like a full block away from the
Right.
tower itself, and so most of the buildings that were once close to it, all the homesteads and other points are probably all abandoned at this point, and they just put up sturdy security fencing, mostly just to keep people away from salvaging and scavenging in there. It doesn't appear to have been more robust than that, and it was years ago, so it appears that nobody's paid it much mind anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think they'd want to expend a lot of energy guarding this if
It's just
If-
useless to them. Yeah.
right. I think if anyone was going to do anything shady, it'd be around like the docks or something. And this is
Right.
clearly broken. So
Why don't we sneak out? We jump a few fences. We'll just be like old times.
yeah. That never backfired. I'm sure it'll be different this time.
Are you going to do that today after breakfast, or are you going to do that tonight after Rick's leaves for the shift?
I feel like we should wait for the sun to go down.
Yeah.
You can spend the day in
paint?
Somber, do that, and then Two Pint, of course, has their own acquisition they want to make.
Can we go get the paint then? If we're gonna wait to break in and do crime, can we go get some paint?
Yes, we can get you paint.
Go get
Yes.
that.
And I'll work on making you something so you can hold more paints.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about that and that you need color variety. So,
I do. I really do. Especially if I don't have to worry about, holding just the paint to cover it all up. Because I always had to have one paint canister
Right.
that was just for painting over. But now I have double the room, and then if I have even more, I could do so many colors, and I could mix colors, and I could do shades. Ooh.
You've got access to Dale's workbench and his tools. There should be enough there for you to work. If you do go back to his homestead, he's in the back bed chamber. The door's closed. You presume he's probably trying to sleep for what he can during the day. But you can get what you need and then leave and go do the work somewhere else. There's plenty of places where you can just like empty street stalls and other things you want to do, or it's just a side alley with like a cargo container that you can just set up as a workbench and get to work on. There's no security on the supply shed, Two Pint. There's no checklist. Nobody goes in. It appears to be a community shed. Presumably somebody inventories it. But you can just go and take out paint if you want. It just depends if there's anything more beyond that that you're trying to acquire, or if you're just going to go and secure the colors that are most important to you right now.
Yeah, I think well, I don't know, do we think this is like a take one leave one situation? Do we need to like bring something there to take something out? Is that polite? I don't know. Rules.
I think it's like foraging. You take what you need, and then you
But
keep it
don't
moving.
over harvest,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then 2 Pint's gonna go in and get just red, yellow, blue. Right? Those are the 3 colors. I know how colors work. I'm very smart. And then black and white.
Yeah.
Just kind
I
of
was
get
going to
them
say,
in.
yeah, have white just in case. So that way, if need be, you can cover it up and just say that you're helping the community.
Right. Okay. Oh, this is so exciting. I'm going to paint
They're
so
only
many
painting
things.
here. Is there maybe some of that corrosion stuff that they were talking to the droid about earlier?
Some of the paints in here would be the kind of paints that you would use to cover up rust or as preventative maintenance to prevent corrosion from happening. So it's got the extra additives and the extra protective layers in it. Absolutely. And this appears to be obviously not for the rig. This is just for the community, but the same principle applies. No different than the corrosion you had to deal with in West Crag. Same thing here. They're right on the bay. It's a saltwater bay. There's going to be corrosion. So this is just for the community to use for maintenance as they need to.
Okay.
And some of it's old. The labels are old. The labels are faded. Some of the cans are blank. You don't know what's inside until you pop it open. And so, because it's obviously not all been used, and beautification isn't a high priority these days in a lot of these settlements. You can secure the canisters. Nobody interferes with you. Nobody does anything to that. And then you're able to take them away. You can set up a makeshift workbench over somewhere. If you're going to do a quick repair and upgrade for 2 Pints paint delivery system, I need you to roll your droid programming and repair skill, which is under your technical. Make sure one of your dice is a wild die. After you roll and before you know if you made the difficulty, of course, you can spend a character point if you need to add another d6 in there as well.
Okay, I'm rolling better this time. So that is a total of 13.
Okay. Are you going to spend a character point with that, or are you going to live with 13?
Did you say what kind of roll this was?
I didn't say the difficulty, no, because there's basic maintenance to repair what 2 Pint has, and then there's improvements, which is going to be a higher difficulty if you're looking to upgrade 2 Pints.
Yeah, let's throw a character point in there.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that's a wild die as well, correct?
It is no 1, but it can roll a 6 and explode if you does.
It's a
one's
4, so that'll get us up to 17.
Perfect.
I want to make sure I do it right, you know?
And you do, and you've got time, and it's fine. So 2 Pint, describe what the rear of your body casing now looks like, and how does it function? Because Vilra has given you an upgraded paint delivery system as part of your chassis.
I think where before it was just like these 2 canisters. Now there's like a little almost carousel on the back with smaller canisters but with more options, so it can kind of revolve and click into place on his arm so you can spray. But yeah, it's a little carousel of paint. I feel like 2 Pint, a very whimsical droid, so they're not secured down, so every time they move they kind of sway a little bit. Like a Ferris wheel cart. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's his new outfit.
But does it work, 2 Pint? Do you need a test run?
I need a wall. And no one around.
You're in a wall in a side alley. There's no one around.
All right. 2 Pint is gonna get going. Blur of motion. And it's gonna test out these paints. I think if it does work, can tell
It-
you what's
It works.
working.
I want you to describe what you paint on the wall.
On the wall, it's smaller in size than I think 2 pints other things were, but it's of water, and then there's one person kind of under the water, and it says alone we sink, and then together it's water, and it's a bunch of people holding hands kind of floating above the water, and it says together we float.
Okay. There it is. You pack up the tools. You can just carry them on the bandolier. You don't have to run anything back for the moment. It was all basic stuff that you needed. This was almost child's play for Vilra, but Vilra, this was a little more creative. It wasn't just utilitarian droid repair. This was actual, a little bit of engineering and a little bit of design work that had to go into this, and it sort of stretched a part of your brain you haven't had to use for a while, and maybe for a moment took your mind off things because you were into very familiar territory and able to do something that made your companion so happy. Day turns to afternoon, and then afternoon turns into evening, and that red glow as the sun starts to set over the bay. There is a shift as some of the stalls and merchants pack up for the night and get ready to head out, and then eventually the sun fades. Wind is a bit colder at night. It just feels colder overall. You don't have that last warmth of the sun, but also darkness envelops the settlement of Somber. Darkness surrounds the Bay of Somber. The fog hasn't fully rolled back in, but it's slowly starting to coalesce again. But you can still see the lights and the distant sounds of the rig. And at some point, you can watch as the watercraft takes Rix and the night crew away from the dock after they go through checkpoint and onto the rig for their night shift, and another vessel passes them in the middle of the bay, bringing the day crew back to offload for the night. But you've got a different job to go to work to right now, and so you can make your way to the north end of town, through some of the side streets, not so far away from where Rix's homestead is, until eventually you come close to, or at least a distance of, the fence, the security fencing. It's just metal. It's just tall. Some of it's bent in places where it's been beat up a little bit over time. Still standing. You can see more buildings on the other side. The street just continues on as if it normally had, but then in the distance, you can see a bit of debris and a bit of rubble at the base of the massive stand for the communications array that points skyward with its large antenna and dish, and then one of the panels missing, a little bit of light coming through as the moon is starting to come up through that missing panel, where apparently a TIE fighter was shot down and crashed straight through it on its way to the ground. But that's the array. This is the fence. This is where you start. What are you going to do?
I think initially Tanal is looking for any breaks in the fence low to the ground, any places where it looks like it has maybe like started to suffer some of that like rusting and corrosion that other parts of the settlement have dealt with, like kind of looking along the base, and at the same time also evaluating if we had to climb that, how hard would that be?
It would be difficult for some of you because not all of you have a lot of physical talent when it comes to scaling a security fence. And there are other places where the fence is compromised and probably weakened and could probably be breached if you had the right tool or choice to do so. So you can choose either path. You just tell me which one.
Okay. So we could hop that, but it might be a little bit tough, and I think there are a couple spots that are a little bit weaker.
Yeah, I could cut through some of this. I'm pretty sure I got something for that. Just might take a little bit longer.
That's fine. All right. Pick a spot. I'll keep watch.
Okay.
I will
I
keep-
want everyone to roll their sneak, which is under your perception. Make sure you include your wild die because you're going to approach the fence as quietly as you can in a quiet part of the street, maybe next to an abandoned building where there's no one home.
I got a 12.
I also got
Mhm.
a 12.
15.
And Gila,
It's 15, sorry.
very good. Make a technical roll, Vilra, to cut the fence. It's not a difficult task at all. It's going to be an easy task. Obviously, we're just waiting to see if there's a complication as you attempt to breach the mesh.
The 6, but no
Which-
complications.
And an easy task is a 6 to 10 difficulty, so you're good. But it takes a few moments, as Vilra said it would. Pulls out a small portable arc welder and just starts cutting a hole through. Has to be. It doesn't even have to be big enough for 2-pint. 2-pint could hover over the fence and then back down again. So it can just be big enough for hands and knees as you guys to crawl through, if that's your goal, to make a smaller hole, but it doesn't require that. And after a short amount of time, you're through the fence and you're on the other side, and you're still just on still on the same street. Now these buildings are abandoned. Now these buildings are a little less maintained. Some of them have some broken windows, or the doors are sort of half jammed open. Just weather and time and wear and tear having degraded them, and of course with no maintenance, eventually they're going to start failing. And you can just stick to the dark alleys, stick to the streets, and you make your way through. Get closer to the array. You can see the old communications building in behind it in the back. Everything is in darkness. You start to see some debris where parts of the array came down, maybe something hit a building, like a destroyed TIE fighter, caused the building to partially collapse. More debris in the street as well. I want everyone to roll your perception.
Uh, 15.
15.
11.
Is anybody going to add a character point to their perception roll?
I'm feeling crazy. I'll go for it. Been banking them long enough. What did I say before? 11? That feels true and correct. 14.
$14 total. The array doesn't have any power to it. It's still connected to power. There's power lines running along the ground, just large, oversized cabling that's been bolted in place, running all the way, presumably to old generators that would have been in the building. But a quick glance, Vilra 2-pint, it doesn't appear that the power supply is damaged. It's probably just been turned off. So before you can determine if the array can be used to send or receive a transmission, you're going to have to restore power to it. So you're going to have to go to the old generator building and check there first.
Okay, yeah, let's hit the generator building and figure out if we can do this and whether or not it's even a good idea, because...
Okay.
Once we light it up, we have a small window to get done whatever needs to be done.
Yeah.
What do we want to get done?
Well, I think we wanted to track the communications for the location that your mom had gone to.
Yeah,
Right.
but, I mean, we should probably look for everyone's families and figure out where that cargo ship went.
Right. But I think we had said that this array might still have that information specifically loaded here. That was one of the last things that came in before it went offline.
Yeah, you can see that Vilra has very little hope in her eyes about that. Very much like, if we can, we should be like pragmatic, but she's like, yeah, okay.
Should split up so we can maximize our time. 2 of us go to turn on the power, and the other 2 go to get the information. Rendezvous back at Rick's place afterwards.
Yeah. 2-pint, you want to help me?
Yes. You should probably take the gun out of my tummy in case we need it, so you don't have to waste time getting it out.
Yeah, I'll do that. And she takes it and puts it on her tool harness.
I'll go with Tinhal.
Vilra and 2 Pint are going to go to the generator to see if they can restore power to the array. Tanal and Gila are going to go to the communications building to access the array. Have that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody make one more sneak roll for me.
So I got an 11 and a complication. I am going to use a character point.
21.
14.
I got a 9, so I'm also going to use a character point.
So mine's 13 total.
Mine is 12 total.
Everybody roll perception for me.
I got an 11.
7.
Also 7.
28.
Oh my god.
That's why you're the reporter. You gotta
Yeah.
know what's going on.
Gila can't do much, but Gila, I put all her points into her perception.
That's a hell of a
He was
roll,
on
Gila.
it. Oh, God.
Vilra and 2 Pint take off following the power lines away from the base of the array to the generators in the back. You start heading towards the communications building. You can see the big bay windows of probably what was the control room, which overlooks the array and the surrounding yard. You assume that's probably where you need to go. And just as you're about to enter the building, Gila, you hear a sound. You hear a chirping and a clicking, and you see the red iris of a single optical sensor of a probe droid. Not a full-size one like the ones that you saw in Westcrack. Small one. 4 little dangly arms, all going independently in different directions as it zips through the yard, passing past the base of the array where you just were moments ago. It's heading directly for the fence in the direction that you came from.
And I'll shoot the damn thing. If it gets us, we're cooked.
What? Oh my god. Okay.
Now, right now, it's going away from you. It's going away in the direction towards the fence where you entered. But you have a moment to do something about that if you wish, before it's going to be gone from sight behind a building.
I mean, I could, but if it goes offline, we could also be cooked. What do you think?
They're gonna know somebody's here.
They're gonna know somebody's here. All right, I'll line up the shot.
Okay, if you're going to take a shot, I need you to roll your blaster or blaster
I
pistols if you took a specialization, but otherwise just blaster.
I did in fact do that.
This is
Roll all 5 of my dice.
This is going to be at medium range difficulty,
Okay.
so it's going to be a 15.
Okay.
It's moving pretty quickly, and it's moving
Okay.
away from you.
Medium range. I'm rolling 5d6. Let's see a 15.
You can do it.
Oh yeah. All right. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep, we're good. I didn't explode or anything, but I also didn't get a complication. That is 10, 15, 18.
I want you to roll the damage for the blaster pistol, which is 4d.
Okay, that is
12.
Vilra and 2 Pint, you make it to the generator building, and you're just about to see if you can get inside. You hear the echo of a blast briefly, but it echoes across the yard.
Ah,
Is that
I don't know, but we should probably get inside.
yeah,
Cover.
for sure. And then if there's more, we'll worry, and if there's not, I'll worry less.
Generator room isn't locked. You can get through the door.
Oh,
It's completely dark in here. 2 Pint can use the spotlight. Vilra can use your glow rod. Tanal, the blaster, just tracks it, and fires off a single shot. Catches the droid just before it disappears from view. It explodes with a shower of sparks and octopoid arms in different directions, and then tumbles down to the ground with a squeal and a squawk. That was super loud. But then it's quiet. There doesn't appear to be another immediate response.
All right. Go. Go.
Get inside the building. Head upstairs. You find the control room. You've actually got a reasonable view. The transparent steel windows are a little bit stained and clouded now because of years of disuse, but you still have enough of a view. You can see the array. It's all dark, no indicator lights, nothing going. The control panel's in front of you. It's all dark. You can't do anything with it at this point. You just have to wait. 2 Pint Vilra, you're inside the generator room. You can see the control panels, all things. It's intact. Doesn't appear that it was damaged. But you're going to have to bring it back up online, or at least partially online. You don't have to light up the whole yard. You can just restore power to the array if you want to try and isolate that. I'm going to need a technical roll for just general repair, and I'm going to need a computer programming and repair roll to activate the console once you get power restored. You guys can determine which of you is doing which roll. Make sure your wild die is included in that.
My technical isn't that great. I'm mostly mechanical. So maybe 2 Pint, you should do it, and I'll just help.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Right. Alright, so what should I roll first, then?
Roll your repair, because you can't access the computer terminal until there's power to the room.
Okay.
So we're going to do general repair, which we're going to call technical, to essentially get the generator back online.
Okay, I didn't explode, but I rolled so good again. Okay, 12, 22, 25, 25 plus 3, 28.
It's a phenomenal roll.
16.
You're able to restore power, but keep it localized. Tap into the existing connection to the rest of the settlement, and then just bring up enough of the generators online just to power the array. Now you need to turn the array on with your computer programming repair when you're ready, please.
All right, here we go.
You got this.
Not as good. It didn't explode, but I didn't get a 1 either. So that's 7, 10, 14, 16, 20. Flat 20.
Excellent. It's not a Christmas tree that lights up. There's a few indicator lights that start to come online on the communications array, which you two can see from the command room, the control room. Power is being restored, and then a few moments later there's like flashes and flickers, and then a control panel in front of you starts to light up in various points as they start bringing it up online.
I feel like we should give him a chunk of time and then turn it all off.
Yeah, we'll give them a couple minutes and then cut it. Hopefully that's enough. But
Once you've got it turned on here, 2 Pint, you know that if you go to the control room, you can turn it off from there, because you can just shut the system down because the system's up and running at
Perfect.
that point. This is
Okay.
just the hard point where it's the only, once everything's offline, because they shut the whole hard point down. It can only be
Okay.
turned on from here, but once you're back up there, you can just turn it off once you're back up there.
Okay, then let's sneak back up there then.
So 2 Pints got their scomp link attached. They're rotating through the thing. They're bringing up all the system. You can see power readings, indicators coming up on the control panel. Gila and Tinal can see the control panel lighting up. A little bit of illumination inside the control room now as they're getting that as well. Vilra, I need you to roll your sense for me, please.
Okay. Which is just 1D. Come on, not a 1.
Explode.
I didn't explode, but I got 5. So
You get a flare, like a pulse, like a surge, like a chill. You don't understand quite where it comes from, but you understand what it means. You understand that there's danger, and what it means is that it's not a surprise round. It means we're going to roll initiative, because as you get that surge, it causes you to stagger for a second, and then as you look over your shoulder, above you, on the roof, upside down, clinging with its 4 octopoid legs, is a probe droid as it extends a shock rod and is about to attack you. We're rolling initiative. We're rolling highest perception on each side. Which of you has highest perception needs to roll, and I'm going to roll perception
what's
for the seeker droid.
My perception is 2D.
mine's 3D plus 2. So I'll
So
Yeah, that's all
so
you-
for this encounter, it's going to be Vilra.
I got a 16.
Vilra, are you going to act first or are you going to act last?
I'm going to act first. And I'm gonna take out my little holdout blaster
Yes.
and try and shoot it.
It does not want to be shot. It's going to react with a dodge to that.
Okay, what do I roll? Because I don't have any
You're
guns.
gonna roll your blaster skill if you have it, and if you don't have your blaster skill, it defaults to your dexterity attribute.
Okay, dexterity, that's not too bad. I'm gonna use a character point.
Okay.
It's an 11.
Two Pint, what are you doing for your action?
Can I spray paint in its eyeball?
You sure
So
can.
it's harder to see.
You can. So I'm not sure what we decided when we're using your paint as a weapon, what skill we're going to call that under. But if you can tell me what you think is appropriate for how you wield that offensively, just so we have it could just be dexterity, because is that we could actually
Yeah.
make a custom skill for you in terms of your
Oh, that'd be fun.
painting, and we
Yeah.
can make that a dexterity skill, because that's probably where it'd be fine control in terms of that. So roll default to dexterity. Roll your dexterity as an attack right now, please.
Okay, so that's I get 3 in dexterity. Bad. Well, it's okay, 10.
You miss with the spray shot. Was dead to rights on the glowing red eye, which stands out in the darkness as the thing goes across the roof as it's coming closer with its rod extended out. But then Vilra pulls out this hold-up blaster and fires, and the whole room lights up with a flash of light for a moment as the blaster goes off, but it misses because the seeker droid skitters across the roof, which causes your paint to miss and the blaster shot to miss. But on my dodge roll, I rolled a 1 for its wild die as a complication, and it catches its shock rod up against the wall and can't get its shot off because it spins it around for a second, threatening to dislodge it from the roof, but it hangs on with a couple of its feet before it snaps up with its feet again. It's already done a dodge, so now if it attempts to attack, it's going to be minus 1d to do so. And it can't use the shock rod this turn because it got out of alignment. And so instead, it's going to deploy an antenna which extends down off the top of its head facing downward as a communications antenna comes up. But there's so much energy and interference from the generator room that you can see that the indicator light to indicate that it's transmitting keeps winking on and off. It can't get a signal. It's back up to the top of the round. Vilra and 2 Point, what are you going to do?
Paint and shoot again?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
we gotta have better aim this time around, right?
We have to, right? Okay.
Statistics, I think. I don't
Focusing,
know, not a math droid.
Breathing,
Secret Droid's going to try and dodge.
calming my mind. Okay.
It
You
is.
want to paint first and then I'll shoot?
It's a fast little sucker.
I
and
think
it's
same
small.
time.
Same time. Okay.
Okay. Fast and nimble.
I exploded though, so that's good.
And I got a 12.
Does it count as a complication if I get a 1 on my exploding die the second time?
No.
Okay, so that's a 13.
Okay. A really good shot with the explosion. The droid's still too fast. Blaster shot rings out inside the shed again. Paint shoots off again, hits the wall again, and the secret droid snaps its electroshock arm around, and it's already dodged, so that's one action. It's going to move. It's moving closer to the door to try and get outside, and it's going to try and hit Vilra with the blaster with an electroshock rod. So that's a total of 3 actions. It's going to be minus 2d because it's moving and also trying to shoot. And it's just going to be a dexterity. So just that. You can attempt to dodge this Vilra. So as a reaction, you can always dodge as a reaction. You can roll your dodge skill, but you've already taken a shot this turn, so your dodge is going to be at minus 1d.
My dodge is under dexterity.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to try and dodge. 8.
And it also rolled an 8. So it rolled just what it needed to hit you. I need you to roll your strength for me, Vilra, as the electroshock rod does stun damage and attempts to stun you.
Okay, so it's a 7.
It is fast and nimble and actually jumps away from the door again to center on Vilra as the rod shoots out and a shock pulse, a little lightning bolt essentially, shoots out of the rod into Vilra's chest, striking her true. It did just over double your strength roll, Vilra, which means you're wounded and then wounded again. So you're wounded twice, which means you're minus 2d going forward as this stun hits you. Sorry, apologies, no, because it's not a wound, it's a stun. You're stunned for 1 round, you're minus 1d to all of your rolls next round. It's not a wound, it's a stun. Make sure I get that right. That's better. Not as good because you're still stunned, but it's not a wound. You're not permanently hurt. But you'll be minus 1d to all of your actions for this round, if there's anything else remaining, and next round as well, but starting at the top of the round. That's the Seeker's turn. We're back up to the top. It's now Vilra at 2 Point. Its little antennas still flashing on and off, trying to catch a signal, but the interference in the generator is preventing it from getting a transmission off.
Okay, that's good. Okay, I want to make sure that I'm by the door and keeping it shut so that it can't get out.
Okay.
And then I'm going to try and shoot it again.
Okay. So you're going to move, which is an action to get to the door, and you're
Yeah.
going to shoot it, which is an action. So that's 2 actions, so you'd be minus 1d.
Yep.
But you're an additional minus 1d because you're stunned to this round. So
What
minus
if-
2d.
Oh, minus 2d total?
Yeah. Unless you feel this is a dramatically appropriate moment, Vilra.
I do think it's a dramatically appropriate moment. We cannot get caught. This would be the worst. So if I use a force point, it doubles my dice.
Double all your dice. You've declared a move action and a shot. Same minus 1d to your actions would apply after doubling your dice, and the minus 1d from the stun still applies after doubling your dice.
Okay, so it would be 6d, but I'm subtracting 2, so 4.
Okay.
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 Go.
No explosions, but no complications.
Okay.
So it's a 13 total.
Crazy. The blaster misses. Dead to right. But what you have done is you've interspersed yourself between the seeker droid and the door to prevent it from leaving. But it also means it's going to line up to take another stun at you if it gets the chance. 2 point?
How sturdy is this thing? Can 2 point just like bum rush it?
It absolutely bum rush it. It's smaller than 2 point.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, 2 point's just gonna go for a body slam then. Just fly into it.
Okay. So we're just gonna call that a brawling attack, which falls under your strength.
And
it is not nearly as strong as it is nimble. So it has to resist with a brawling parry.
Okay. That I'm gonna use character point.
Okay.
Skateboard. Okay. So that is a 15.
2 point flies up from the floor into the ceiling, slamming this thing into the wall. 2 point, I want you to roll your strength for damage, and I'm going to roll its strength to resist.
Math. That's a 11.
You smash into it, sparks fly off of it. There's a crunch on your body as well as you two. The little arms clicking and clacking and trying to grab at you to peel you away. You just wounded it. It's sparking, it's a little shaky. It's now permanently minus 1d to all the rest of its rolls. But it's now its turn. And you're right in front of it. And it doesn't like the fact that there's now a droid interfering with its rotation. So it's going to try to hit you with the shock rod. And it already did an action, and so now it is going to be minus 1d for wounded, minus 1d for the other action. So it's going to attempt to hit you with a electroshock rod. 2 point, my wild die exploded.
No!
You can roll your dodge as a reaction, 2 point, to dodge this. So make sure you do that. And remember,
I'm at -1.
And you're yeah, exactly, for -1 for that. So
it's 3. It's only a 9.
Okay. You're grappling with your arms, it's grappling with its arms, and kind of peels your arms up long enough to get the electroshock prod and sting at point blank range. I need you to roll your strength for me as it attempts to stun you.
And still -1 for this roll as well? Or minus...
No, strength, unless you're wounded, strength is at full dice when you're resisting
slay.
damage. It's
Okay.
not affected by multi-action penalty, only if you're wounded.
Okay. 12.
You're stunned next round for -1d for all your actions for next round. Tanal and Gila, I need you to roll perception checks. This is going to be a difficult roll. Difficulty 16. You're inside the control room on the second floor, across the yard from the generator, but a couple of blaster shots have rung out now. I need to see if you can hear that.
Got an 8.
20.
Yes.
Gila, you hear blaster fire, and it didn't come from Tanal this time.
Tanal, I think something's happening down there.
Oh shit. Okay. God, I don't want to just leave you here.
Oh, I'll be fine.
Okay. Just stay safe. And we'll run out of the
Tanal
room
runs.
Yeah.
We're gonna do one more full round inside the shed before Tanal can get to you. It's the top of the round. Vilra, you're stunned. You're -1d. The Seeker droid is wounded now. It's been damaged by 2 pints charge, but 2 pint is staggering with little blue lightning occasionally flickering across 2 pint's body from the stun shock rod. What are you gonna do?
I know how to take apart a droid. I've been doing it since I was a kid. If I can get my hands on this little twerp, I'm just gonna mess him up with my tools. Because that's what I know how to do.
They're smashing up against the wall, and it's no longer upside down clinging to the wall. It's clinging to 2 pint, clinging up. So a couple of its octopoid arms are dangling down. You can make a brawling attack that's an attempt to grab it and then yank it down to you. So that's
Okay, I was gonna see if 2 pint could bring it down to me.
Okay,
And
so
then I can
Yeah.
pull it off.
So
that
you're
way-
gonna hold and let 2 pint do their action first. Okay.
Yes, that's my plan. 2 pint, if you can just like bring him down here and I can just...
So that's what Vilra shouts out, right? Bring him down.
Right! And then 2 Pints just gonna like kind of free fall a little bit to get to you could try and like slam him into the ground and bounce him up or something like that to get him off you.
2 pint, what do you have to lift things?
I have my tow cable.
And what else could you do other than lifting with a tow cable?
You could drop it down.
You drag something to you instead, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna have you use your
Good.
dexterity to essentially launch your cable and try and hook it on the ground or on the bottom of the wall
Okay.
so that you can secure it.
Perfect.
But remember, you're -1d for that.
Yep,
Deploy.
that's only 2. Okay, well, that counts. That's only a 7.
And that's okay because it's an easy roll. There's plenty of nooks and crannies and bits on the wall. You snap your hook out. We're going to do an opposed strength check. My strength against your lifting, because you're basically lifting in reverse. The
Yeah.
winch is doing all the work for you and it's pulling both of you down to the ground. The Seeker droid does not have a lot of strength and it's wounded. So it needs its wild die to explode.
I'm rolling my...
Lifting skill, but you're a -1d to do so because of your stun.
I don't...
And that's under strength.
Yeah, okay. 7. Again.
It's a struggle. You can hear 2 pints winch loudly as its motor is working much harder than it normally has to because it usually doesn't have the cargo container or whatever, or the version that's lifting is not usually struggling against the lift, but it doesn't matter. It's stronger than the Seeker, and the Seeker's claw arm on the wall snaps off as it releases and gets dragged down, and 2 pint has brought it down to your level. Vilra, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm snatching that little...
Get his ass, Vilra!
Do you want to
And-
roll? Do you want to roll a droid programming repair to shut it down?
I mean, I don't care if I shut it down. I mean, destroy.
Okay.
So, is it still a droid repair roll?
No, it depends. Droid repairs where you would essentially rip open its panel and get at it, where you wouldn't be destroying it. If you just want to take the blaster at point blank range and shoot it, you can do that. It may have a chance to still try and avoid that shot, and you're stunned. So it just depends on what you think is your better approach. You talked about Vilra knows how to take apart a droid. I just assumed that you were going to use your droid programming repair skill to essentially disable it with your hands.
Yeah, I think I'll go the disable in my hands route because...
Okay.
And I'm -1d.
-1d to the roll.
Oh no, okay. I'm going to be honest in this moment, and I want everyone to honor that. And just acknowledge that I rolled a 1 on the only die I roll, but it's total of 5.
This is what happens. You do know how to disable a droid. You've been working on them your whole life. It's not a difficult piece for you. The droid would not willingly go along with that, but it's been pulled down to the ground and it's essentially wrestled by 2 pint. It can't really resist. It's easy. It's child's play for you to pop open its hatch and just disable it from its sort of main control hub inside. But it's a seeker droid, and it's designed for patrol and intervention and reporting. And it's also designed for defense, and it's designed for unauthorized access. And it deploys a final shock pulse as you turn it offline. I need you to roll your strength at -1d as one final stun pulse goes through you.
Okay, so if I only have 1d in strength, then
then
I'm
you
minus.
roll. Then you roll 1d. That you
Okay.
can't go lower than 1. It's
Cool.
your wild die, and if it explodes, it still explodes.
Is it possible for 2 Pint to try to jump in the way?
You're gonna take the bullet?
Of course.
I'm
my
just
total
gonna-
is 6.
Okay, at 2 Pint, I'm just going to let you do that if that's what you choose to do. You can essentially intercept the pulse and to have it go onto you, and then you're just going to roll your strength at -1d because you're also stunned.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try and
Yep.
protect Vilra.
Yep.
That's 2d in strength. That's a 6.
We both got 6. Oh boy.
I need to double check
No!
what happens.
Help!
I'm on my way. I'm coming, guys. I'm
We
running.
need muscles!
We need muscle.
Help is on the way, dear.
Real quick, I just want to double check, and because I can't remember how stuns stack.
I feel like it's like the chicken pox. If you get it once, then that's just
It's
it,
fine.
You know?
Right?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Are both of us gonna end up getting shocked now?
That would be actually hilarious.
Okay.
Bad, but
Okay.
very funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your 2 Pint? What is your strength?
It's normally 3d right now, but with the -1, it's 2.
Okay. Because you are down 1d, when you are stunned and you're affected by a number of stuns equal to the number before the d of your strength attribute, you are knocked unconscious. 2 Pint intercedes with the stun pulse, taking the brunt of it as you yank the control module out of the secret droid, dropping it offline, preventing its transmission from going through, preventing it from attacking any further. But its security, its defensive surge goes out, and 2 Pint takes all of that. 2 Pint, I want you to describe the sounds 2 Pint makes as you are overloaded and your system shuts down.
I think what happens is, as sees is coming for Vilra, is gonna go, no, and like jump in front of it, and I think as he kind of gets hit with it, it kind of releases like a almost like a steam sound, like when steam is coming out of a kettle at really high speed, and that just kind of goes up and then like slows and gets really deep, and then nothing.
There's a metallic clang sound as both the seeker droid and the beautification and maintenance droid slam into the floor plate of the generator room loudly, with no more repulsor and no more power. That happens at the same time as Tanal rips open the door, blasting having just arrived, and you see Vilra staggering as the lingering effects of her stun just start to wear off, and you see the smoking corpse of the seeker droid and the smoldering corpse of 2 Pint laying on the ground.
What happened?
See a droid scared us from the roof, and then we tried to shoot it.
Okay.
I'm very
okay.
bad at that. And then
Okay,
2
that's
Pint
okay.
jumped in front of the way and took it, and now they're unconscious. And I'm gonna try and
okay.
fix him. I'm gonna
Okay.
do that. I can fix him.
Vilra, you're not. Can I take out the med pack really quickly and try to use it to help Vilra out a little bit?
You can, but it it won't be necessary. The stun's going to clear in a
Okay.
moment. So it's
Okay.
You check her to see if she needs the med pack.
Yeah.
She's not wounded. There's no actual wound. There is a bit of a discoloration on the front of her poncho where the stun blast hit, but she just looks woozy and dizzy as opposed to hurt, burned, or bleeding.
Okay. All right, you're fine. We should just get 2 Pint out of here. We should. I left Gila alone. We gotta finish what we came here to do, and
Yeah.
we can fix them.
How
Okay.
much does 2 pint weigh?
Oh, I feel like I have that written down somewhere.
Heavy, but not impossible. Not for Tanal.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Tanal will kind of take off her scarf really quickly and makeshift baby Bjorn, and take 2 Pint and kind of situate them on the front of her body, pull out her blaster. All right, we should get back to Gila as quick as we can. You did good.
Thank you. I'm
You
gonna
did
fully
really good.
destroy this thing a little bit more and just grabs more wires out of it.
Yeah,
and-
it's only
Cool.
the equivalent. It's only the equivalent of unconscious right now but you can disable it permanently and destroy it. Absolutely, it just takes a moment.
Yeah, she permanently disables and destroys it so that it can't transmit. Like nothing can be recovered.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Okay, let's go.
kind of start leading back towards.
Get them back in
the
the control
tower.
panel. The rest of the
Mhm.
yard is quiet. Thankfully, that took place inside the generator room, so anybody that was more than maybe a block away hopefully didn't hear the blaster fire going off. And there was no visual to that, so nobody could see it happening. Gila, you see Tanal come back. Tanal is carrying, wrapped, 2 pints, unmoving chassis, and Vilra comes up, her head just starting to clear now as they get back into the control room, which is now lit up and accessible.
Alright. I'm gonna start doing the things that need to be done.
So you're going to use your communication skill to access the comm terminal. You're looking to see if you can find the last transmission that was received here. And you can also check on the specific frequency that you know that your mother's has been using.
Also, can I work on 2 pint while we're doing this? Can I do a droid repair?
Yes.
The technical, so
No,
the
no.
computer program.
For you, it's comm. It's which is under mechanical, right? Comm scan,
Comm scan?
communications.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Because I believe Gila's not bad at that.
Gila's computer programming, not comm scan, but I
Oh.
have some income.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
No worries. Okay, math.
Oh, I got a
That is a-
19. Sorry, go ahead.
No, 12.
Gila, are you going to use a character point?
I
Or
will
Gila,
use
is this a dramatically appropriate moment that you want to do something differently? We're supposed to declare that before we roll, but I'll allow you to retroactively apply that because I need to remind you of that from time to time.
Yeah. No, please cue the John Williams music. When you dig deep.
I want you to re-roll your communications roll, but I want you to double your dice and then re-roll it, please.
And then while fixing 2 pint, I got a 19 because one of my dice exploded. My
Good
wild
roll.
die exploded.
Good roll.
So take the first roll and double it, and then roll again.
No, you just double it. So whatever what's your communication dice? How many dice do you have in communications?
I have 3.
So you roll 6 dice.
Okay,
And one of those 6 dice is your wild die.
gotcha. That is a 19.
I'll just remind you because Gila would know to do this. You're gonna download this to your portable data pad, so you've got it with you. Yeah. Gila connects, plugs in the data pad, starts downloading, pulling up this comm signal. You find the last transmission, Gila. It is matches with what Dale said about 7, 8 years ago. the last transmission that came through on the frequency that you're checking, which is the frequency that Anti-Vima was sending coordinates out to Uniza to give her the system coordinates of the next system to go to. And so you have those system coordinates that you're able to download and save. But there's also another transmission. And it's not 8 years old. It's about 8 days old. There's a comm chatter, static that comes up. Doesn't look like there's a holographic channel, so the hologram is just kind of distorted. Doesn't look like there's any visual. But you're recording it anyway. Maybe it can be cleaned up. You don't know. You'd have to talk to your maintenance droid when they're back online. And then you can hear some voices talking over each other. And then you hear a gruff male voice come through more clearly. They've stepped close to the terminal. The voice of Vin Jaren. Clone trooper. War survivor. Husband. Stepfather. Dad. Saddle up, girl. There's a hole in the fence. Herd got loose. You better ride out and gather them up again. Could take all night. Don't fall any ravines and get lost. Better take the long way back. Make sure you don't miss any strays. Better make sure you don't lead any Ranfix packs back to the farm either. There's a pause. His voice comes through, and for a rare moment, it's shaky. We'll set a plate for you. T. I'm proud of you, girl. And Vin steps away. There's a bit more static. And then a kind, old Celestin voice. Anti-Vima. Gardener. Caretaker. Community leader. Protector of children. Jedi. Hello, dear. How are your plants doing? Keeping them watered? Keep them in the sun. It's too cold in the shade. They'll shrivel right up. Feel that warm light on their petals. Makes them stretch right out and say hello. My garden's much smaller now. But that's all right. More time to tend the pots that matter most. Now don't plant that seed you found too soon. Make sure it's the right soil and the right pot. You need room for the roots to grow. But you already do that, dear. You need room to grow. I'm so looking forward to seeing you bloom. And tell your friend that I miss her mother's stories, and I hope she'll bring me a story back soon. I look forward to reading it. Bye-bye, dearie. More static. An eager woman's confident voice can be heard, but they're not standing close enough to the transmitter. But you recognize it all the same. Mila Sesper. Pilot. Troublemaker. Cigar-smoking, pistol-slinging ant. Can I talk now? I want to talk now. What do you mean not now? Don't wag your finger at me, you old farmhand. Mila's voice staggers back and is lost to the static. Auntie Vim's voice can be heard. Come now, dear. It's your turn. Yes, right here. A human woman's voice. Quiet, tentative, but strong. Amani Jaren. Farmer, business owner, sister, wife, and mother. I talk here? Talk here? Okay. There's a pause where you don't hear her voice for a moment. It's a long journey. Remember to eat something. Remember, wash anything you pick. Remember, it gets cold in the fields. We're okay. We're okay. Don't rush back. The trail is flooded again. Don't cross it. Don't cross it. It's too dangerous. We'll get our own ride back. Just look after yourself. Look after each other. You're the best wrangler in the settlement. Everyone knows that now. Oh, it's important. I talked to your sister. She's okay. She's okay. She's just a little damp from the storm. If you see her, you probably won't see her. But if you see her, tell her how proud I am of her. She's so brave now. Just like you. So brave. So alone. Okay. We're losing signal. Look after yourself. Look out for predators in the fields. I miss you. And I love you. Just a static. The transmission ends. And that's where we end this episode of Quadrilateral Frostfall, a Star Wars actual play. I have been your game master, Jason Collins. You can find me and my published works and the other stories of Quadrilateral on my link tree at digital_Collins.
You can find me all over the internet at that's_Barnaby, TTRPG illustrator, as well as an AP, apparently not prior. And you can find me also in the pit. So thanks.
Hello, I am Mara. You can find me on the internet at College of Lore Dropout or just Lore Dropout and over on Starlight Tales.
Hi, I'm Diana. You can find me on the internet at Sapphic Dragonona, also over at Starlight Tales, or I don't know, it seems hunting Jason for sport after that, because wow.
Hi, I'm May. You can find me, sorry, I am just, whiplash, I feel like. You can find me on the internet at Maybe Mayhem or on my podcast, Socially Plagued.
Thank you for joining us. We hope to see you next time, and we wish all of our spacers and scoundrels safe skies.